Hi, this is Praveen Gopalkrishnan, and today's edition of the Nutgraf, published on 19th April 2025, is titled Blusmart and the Dogs That Didn't Bark. Over a year ago, my colleague Shashwato published a story in the Ken titled Blusmart's relationship with co-founders listed company could prove costly. In it, he drew attention to the somewhat unusual relationship between Blusmart, which is an insurgent EV ride hailing startup, and Gensol Engineering, a relatively conventional energy company. Blusmart was private and exciting. Gensol was publicly held and much more boring. Blusmart helped people book cars reliably, cheaply, and provided a great experience. And Gensol did things like it built solar farms. Two completely different companies. Except both Gensol and Blusmart had the same set of significant shareholders. Promoters Puneet Singh Jaggi and Anmol Singh Jaggi held 63% of Gensol and owned 23% of Blusmart. This wasn't a story that exposed some massive wrongdoing, but it called attention to some weird patterns, which turned out to be prescient. Gensol had leased electric cars to Blusmart, and the terms of the arrangement were surprisingly favorable to Blusmart. When asked about it, Gensol said some hand wavy stuff about offering better rates for, quote, great customers. They also said that transactions between the two companies were, quote, under the purview of the audit committee of the Blusmart board, close quote. Also, Gensol was the one raising money and Blusmart seemed to be the one burning it. It was all very strange. Anyway, earlier this week, Blusmart informed customers that it was temporarily pausing operations. Here's the story from the BBC titled Blusmart Breakdown: How Uber's EV rival in India collapsed. Quote, the decision to halt services in the three cities it served, Bengaluru, Mumbai, and Delhi, came after the Indian market regulator, the Securities and Exchange Board of India, also known as Sebi, alleged that Blusmart's founders were diverting loans from another firm they owned to buy luxury apartments and golf equipment. The loans were meant to help Blusmart lease new cars. Blusmart has not responded to the BBC's questions. The problem appears to be with both gross financial mismanagement alleged by the regulator and also the way in which Blusmart business model was structured. Unlike traditional cab aggregators who lease their vehicles from individual drivers, Blusmart leased its fleet from companies, in particular from one firm called Gensol Engineering Limited, a stock market listed solar energy and EV leasing firm, which is also run by the Juggies. Close quote. Frankly, I'm not here to discuss the specifics of what Sebi discovered in its investigation or the arcane methods of how the scheme was orchestrated by Blusmart's founders. That's less interesting. Instead, it's the broader response to this that's much more fun to talk about. As YouTube view counts often demonstrate, reaction videos can often be much more enthralling than the event itself. And the response to news about the Blusmart collapse has been strikingly consistent. Within hours of the Sebi order, thousands of full-time employees at companies opened LinkedIn on one tab, fired up ChatGPT on the other, and wrote bullet-pointed, neatly sectioned lessons, takeaways, and cautionary tales about what Blusmart's fall meant for the rest of us. The takes were startlingly indisputable. Corporate governance is important. Blusmart was loved by customers. Instances like this will hurt legitimate businesses. India is a low trust society. This is a reality check for the ecosystem. Systemic issues, structural problems, trust is everything. And of course, there's a stupid AI generated image attached to the post. There were responses from other founders who said equally trite things. Aman Gupta, co founder and CEO of Boat, wrote his incontestable opinion about the Blusmart saga. Quote, build not just fast, but right. Close quote. Path breaking. As if the alternate was what everyone else was doing. Sabir Bhatia, co-founder of Hotmail, wrote that the media, quote, shouldn't vilify all founders over one case, close quote. As if India's business media has ever preemptively vilified a single startup founder over any case, anytime, anywhere. Who exactly is disagreeing with any of these opinions? Then there are the I guessed as much, but I chose to say nothing opinions. Lesser known CEOs came out of the woodwork to say, I always thought something was off about Blusmart. VCs stopped recording their Techno Euphoria podcast with their portfolio founders for a moment to say, they came to me for funding, but I passed. Again, nobody can corroborate or disagree with any of this. In some ways, Indian business startups and media personalities have built and monetized a content economy that's ultimately conformist, unremarkable, and post hoc. YouTube channels talk about masterstrokes and genius plans of companies only after the event and almost never before. VCs and founders sit together and talk about how the future market for their businesses are going to be wonderful and amazing. One random company releases a Studio Ghibli image generator, and in a few hours, everyone is in on the trend. The discourse on Indian startups is to be as non controversial as possible. When everyone agrees that something is on the way up, people rush to make content about it. And suddenly, overnight, when it becomes apparent that the thing is on its way down, everyone jumps on it to make content about it. The smart ones make money across both sides of the curve, up and down. All content is created on uncontestable things. All monetization and status comes from saying things nobody can disagree with. The unfortunate part of this is that I don't expect any of this to change. Just take Blusmart. Blusmart was an organization that was clearly involved in some shady stuff. And yet, think about all the people who probably guessed that something was off about Blusmart but didn't say a word about it. I'm not even expecting Blusmart's co founders, board members, or VCs to speak up. But I'm finding it hard to imagine why there wasn't one YouTube content creator, one newsletter writer, or one LinkedIn poster who suggested in the last year that maybe Blusmart isn't such a great business after all. In fact, even parties who were in the thick of it are finally acting, but only after the event is done. Harsh Singh and Kuljit Singh Popli, two of Gensol's independent directors, stepped down a couple of days back. Arun Menon, another of Gensol Engineering's independent directors, stepped down last week. In his resignation email, he went into great lengths to explain what he noticed, what he did, when he did it, and what happened. Quote, this is a story from Gensol independent director Arun Menon steps down from CNBC TV 18. And I quote, in an email to Jaggi, Menon noted that he had been seeking clarity on Gensol Engineering's debt position since July-August 2024 but received no response. He said he had offered to help the company restructure its debt to lower interest costs, but the plan never progressed. The email also revealed that Menon had reached out to the company secretary, Rajesh Parmar, and requested a meeting with the CFO, but it never materialized. There was growing concern on the leveraging of Gensol Engineering's balance sheet to fund the capex of another business and the sustainability of servicing such high debt costs by Gensol Engineering, Menon wrote. Menon added that he had considered stepping down earlier. Since I felt I was adding limited value to the company, I had expressed last year to Mr. Parmar that I would like to put in my resignation. But I was told to put this on hold till the IPO of Matrix is successfully concluded. End quote. I'm sure other people also suspected something was off, but didn't act. Or did, and did it privately. In some ways, the reasons why they played it safe is similar to the reasons why content creators play it safe. There are no incentives for co founders to speak up. VCs care less about the ethics of the company and more about secondary transactions. As long as a bigger entity comes along and buys their stake off them, they really don't have an incentive to look closer. Go back and look at some of the biggest startup scandals over the last few years in India. Nearly all of them were exposed when some new VC was coming on board and was considering making an investment and decided to conduct a due diligence. Blusmart's institutional investors were Responsibility, Lightsource BP, and BP Ventures, among others. Did none of them notice anything strange? Did nobody in India's business media not bother to read Blusmart's MCA filings, which are publicly available for just rupees 100? Maybe just like how content and monetization is created on uncontestable things, perhaps all financial transactions are also created on uncontestable things. It's far more lucrative to go where everyone else is going, to chase what everyone else is chasing, to ride the trend that everyone else are riding. And if you're smart enough, you can win across both sides of the curve, up and down. Sound and production for this episode has been done by Rajiv CN. This edition of the Nutgraf, you can find it on the Ken's website at theken.com/thenutgraf. I'll be back again with another edition next week.